Hans.
Nice to see you again. If you tuned in last week, you know we talked about photosynthesis.
Photo what?
Unimportant.
Well, actually, photosynthesis plays an important role with...
Silence, Melvin. Anyway, this week everyone has some questions that energize the show. That's right, everybody. Today we'll be taking a trip into the mitochondria of the cell.
But Hans, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Do we need our hazmat suits and protective gear in case we are handling dangerous materials that may be hazardous to our health and may not be covered by our extensive insurance plans and medical contracts?
Don't be ridiculous. Cellular respiration is the process that releases energy from foods. Sometimes the presence of oxygen is actually begins outside the mitochondria, which is indeed the powerhouse of the cell.
Where exactly does it begin?
Well, we'll be starting with an overview, of course. The reactants are what goes into the process to make it happen. For cellular respiration, the reactants are glucose and oxygen. The products are what comes out of a process as the result. For cellular respiration, the products are water, carbon dioxide, and energy.
And there you have it, energy.
Whoa, buddy, not so fast. Cellular respiration has several steps before energy is usable for the cell.
Really? Cool.
Cellular respiration takes place in the cytosol, the mitochondrial matrix, the inner membrane of the mitochondria, and to a degree, the intermembrane space.
What's the first step, Hans?
The first step of cellular respiration is glycolysis. It is actually a biochemical pathway of photosynthesis.
Well, what's that?
It's when products of one reaction, in this case photosynthesis, are the reactions of another reaction, glycolysis.
Wait, what's glycolysis?
It's a reaction that occurs in the cytoplasm or the cytosol. It's the same thing. The word glycolysis literally means sugar breaking. It transforms glucose, a sugar that has 6 carbons, into pyruvic acid, a 3-carbon acid. As a result, the cause of the wild transformation energy is released.
Wow, that's so cool. Does that mean ATP is a product of glycolysis?
By golly, Miss Molly, you're catching on. The product from one glucose molecule are 2 ATP, 2 NADH, and 2 pyruvic acid. The reaction is super fast. It can make thousands of molecules of ATP in milliseconds.
I can't believe it. Awesome. What happens afterwards?
Well, Tommy, it depends on if there's oxygen present in the cell. If there isn't, we move to a nifty thing called anaerobic respiration.
Jeepers, what's that?
Well, since you asked, it's called fermentation.
Is that what they do to wine?
Well, actually, right on the nose. One of the 2 types of fermentation, alcohol fermentation, yeast and other microorganisms take pyruvic acid and NADH and turn it into NAD+, an electron carrier, CO2, and make it bubbly and ethanol, the alcohol that we drink.
Sweet. You said there were 2 types of fermentation? What's the other one?
By gosh, I almost forgot. It's called lactic acid fermentation. It takes pyruvic acid and NADH from glycolysis, but you want to know what the difference is?
Of course we do.
It's the product of our lactic acid and NAD+, instead of CO2, ethanol. Isn't that fun?
I love cellular respiration.
Wait, what's the point of fermentation? How much energy do the cells get?
I'm glad you asked, since we already know that glycolysis can make thousands of molecules of ATP in milliseconds. Both types of fermentation replenishes the NAD+ needed for glycolysis. It doesn't independently create any ATP.
But what if oxygen is present?
I'm glad you asked, Tommy. We take the products of glycolysis, 2 ATP, 2 NADH, and 2 pyruvic acids, and move it to my personal favorite part, the Krebs cycle.
Woo!
The pyruvic acid that was formed through glycolysis travels to the mitochondrial matrix, where it becomes engaged in an aerobic process called the Krebs cycle. The Krebs cycle, the pyruvate from glycolysis is transformed into a different molecule called acetyl-CoA and CO2. The acetyl-CoA combines with silylacetate from the initial input from the Krebs cycle.
And what comes out of the Krebs cycle?
Ah, what are the products, you ask? Why, of course, 6 NADH, 2 FDH2, and 2 ATP, 4 carbon dioxide.
Well, golly gee, isn't that just great?
Don't get ahead of yourself there. What happens next is even greater.
What's that?
The electron transport chain. TC is, as it's called, the final aerobic part of respiration. It takes place in the inner membrane of the mitochondrion, you see?
Well, what is it? Well, is that it?
Well, of course not. NADH and FADH pass through high energy electrons called to the ETC, which in eukaryotic cells is the mitochondrial inner membrane, and the prokaryotic cells is the cell membrane. The electrons move along a chain of carriers, and at the end, there's a final acceptor.
What could that possibly be?
Everybody!
Oxygen!
That's right, oxygen. It's incredibly important because it's the final ingredient needed to form water. Without oxygen, the electron transport chain can't function, meaning the final step in cellular respiration can't be carried out.
Wow, that was quick.
But it's not done yet, Tommy. The oxygen also helps to control the buildup of positive hydrogen ions in the intermembrane space and the matrix, which creates a concentration gradient. Ions move through the ATP synthase, which creates...
Ooh.
No, Tommy.
A fresh, crisp $20 bill?
Nope.
The founding documents of our nation?
No, silly. ATP, which means...
Energy!
Bonus fact, the process of creating ATP in this way is called chemiosmosis.
Wow!
And that's how energy is made through cellular respiration.
Could you sum things up for us, Hans?
Gladly. Speaking of summing up, why don't we start with an overall equation?
I can't do that. It's glucose plus oxygen plus enzymes to carbon dioxide plus water plus energy or ATP.
Right on, mitochondrion.
Then there are two types of respiration, anaerobic without oxygen and aerobic with it. Anaerobic respiration includes fermentation of both ethyl alcohol and lactic acid. Aerobic respiration includes the Krebs cycle and the ETC.
You know it, anaerobic.
The total amount of ATP produced is 36 to 38, and all processes, glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and ETC, take place in the cytosol, the matrix, and the inner membrane and intermembrane space, respectively.
You dig me, ATP.
Oxygen is crucial in the formation of ATP, which is usable energy for the cell.
Go you, CO2.
Cellular respiration is the process used by cells to create usable energy from the cell for food.
Way to be, ETC.
Anaerobic respiration involves fermentation, which can result in the formation of lactic acid or ethyl alcohol. This needs no oxygen by definition and produces NAD+ and 2 ATP.
You win, oxygen.
ATP is formed through chemiosmosis involving ATP synthase.
In your face, ATP synthase.
And
Well-
in the end, water, CO2, and ATP are formed.
Well, folks, it looks like that wraps up our show, today's lesson.
ETC you later!